At 68, Vince Gill finally opened up about the 7 singers who shaped his heart, his music, and his idea of greatness. These are not casual favorites. These were the voices he carried with him through struggle, through success, and through the private moments he never shared until now. His confession shocked many fans, because some names revealed the deepest emotional stories of his life. Vince Gill reached a point in life where honesty felt more important than image. He spent decades being praised for his voice, but he knew that every note inside him came from someone else long before it came from him. He grew up in a small home filled with music that never felt small. His father played guitar after long days at work, and those moments taught Vince that music spoke louder than any argument or fear. Yet the voices that shaped him existed far beyond his family walls. He admitted that the first singer who changed his life was Merle Haggard. Haggard's voice carried pain, wisdom, and a quiet honesty that Vince could feel even as a boy. He said Merle sang as if every song mattered, even when it sounded simple. That commitment stayed with him forever. Vince admired the way Haggard could break a heart with one line. He studied the phrasing, the easy confidence, and the emotional clarity. Haggard made him realize a song is not about showing talent. A song is about showing truth. The second singer he confessed to loving deeply was Emmylou Harris. Her voice felt like a soft light in a dark room. Vince said that Emmylou taught him grace, restraint, and purity. Her singing never tried to impress. It simply existed with beauty and peace. He remembered hearing her harmonies for the first time. Something inside him opened. He knew he wanted to create that same gentle magic. Emmylou's voice influenced his own ability to blend, support, and lift other artists without needing to shine alone. Vince often said good musicians can sing loud, but great musicians know when to sing softly. He learned that from her. The third singer in his confession was Ray Charles. Many people never expected that name, but Vince explained it clearly. Ray Charles sang with fire, risk, and emotion that refused to be controlled. Vince admired artists who felt their way through songs rather than planning every detail. Ray Charles showed him how to let soul lead the melody, how to trust emotion more than technique, how to sing like the whole world disappears except the truth inside the moment. Vince listened to Ray not just for inspiration, but for courage. Courage to stretch, to explore, to feel more deeply than what country music sometimes allowed. The fourth singer Vince mentioned carried a special place in his heart, Linda Ronstadt. He called her one of the purest voices to ever live. Her strength, range, and emotional clarity shaped his idea of vocal excellence. He believed Linda never sang a weak note, even in her most vulnerable songs. She had power, but her power came from emotional honesty, not force. Vince admired how she crossed genres without fear. She trusted her voice to carry her anywhere. When he first recorded with her, he felt nervous. He respected her so much that he worried he wouldn't measure up. She encouraged him with kindness, and that moment stayed with him for decades. Her belief in him added new confidence to his voice. The fifth singer he confessed to was James Taylor. Vince described Taylor's voice as calm water, smooth, steady, and healing. He said Taylor showed him the beauty of simplicity, the power of a voice that never rushed. Taylor's songwriting also shaped Vince's emotional storytelling. Taylor could paint pictures with so few words, yet every image felt full and real. Vince learned to trust the small details, the quiet confessions, the gentle truths. Vince often said that when life felt heavy, Taylor's voice made the world steady again. The sixth singer had a deep emotional connection to Vince Gill's private life, Gene Watson. Many fans knew Vince admired Watson, but they didn't know the depth of that admiration. Watson's voice carried heartbreak so cleanly that it never felt messy. Vince loved the clarity, control, the flawless tone. Watson proved that emotion doesn't have to be raw to be powerful. It can be shaped, polished, and delivered with heartbreaking precision. Vince practiced for hours trying to match the smoothness he heard in Watson's records. He never fully believed he achieved it, but the effort made him better. The seventh and final singer Vince confessed to admiring above all was the one closest to his spirit, George Jones. Many called Jones the greatest country singer of all time, and Vince agreed. He said Jones held every emotion a human could feel inside his voice. Jones didn't just sing sadness. He sang confusion, regret, longing, love, hope, and fear. Vince believed Jones carried all the colors of human experience in a single note. Listening to him felt like listening to a lifetime. Vince said Jones taught him the most valuable lesson of all: a good voice is a gift, but a truthful voice is a choice. These 7 singers shaped Vince Gill long before he ever stepped on a stage. They raised him musically. They guided his heart. They gave his career direction. They gave his soul a home. His confession was not simply a list. It was a map of his life. When Vince Gill revealed these 7 names, he didn't stop at praise. He explained the moments behind each influence, the personal stories that shaped his identity as a man and as a musician. Vince shared that his connection to Merle Haggard began in childhood. His father loved Haggard, and hearing that music became part of their bond. Vince remembered moments when tension filled the house and music softened the air. Haggard's voice was the sound that healed those days. Every time Haggard came on the radio, the family mood changed. Vince carried that memory forever. It wasn't just admiration. It was emotional inheritance. Haggard became the bridge between father and son, a shared language that existed even when conversation failed. When Vince started performing, he tried to hide his nervousness, just as Haggard did early in his career. He learned that even legends start quietly. That realization helped him push past insecurity and step onto stages that once frightened him. His story with Emmylou Harris ran deeper than musical admiration. She helped him feel welcome in a world where he often felt like an outsider. When he first moved to Nashville, he was young and unsure. Emmylou offered guidance not through speeches but through kindness and collaboration. She once told him that music becomes better when ego disappears. Vince held on to that advice with his whole heart. It shaped how he treated young artists when he later became a mentor. He respected her so much that he never forgot a single word she said. Ray Charles connected to Vince through courage, not genre. Vince admired how Ray never apologized for uniqueness. Growing up in Oklahoma, Vince sometimes felt pressure to fit into a specific box, but Ray Charles showed him that authenticity mattered more than acceptance. That influence became clear in Vince's later years when he started blending country, bluegrass, and pop with freedom. He trusted his instincts because Ray showed him that boundaries are only real if you believe in them. The emotional story connected to Linda Ronstadt began when Vince was still rising in the industry. She invited him to collaborate, and he walked into the studio feeling small compared to her legacy. He worried that his voice would feel weak beside hers. Linda surprised him with sincere praise. She told him that his voice carried rare sweetness. That encouragement came during a time when Vince doubted his place in the industry. Her words became fuel that pushed him through moments of insecurity. James Taylor entered Vince's story during a time of emotional exhaustion. Fame pushed him into a whirlwind of touring, interviews, and pressure. When he felt overwhelmed, Taylor's music grounded him. It gave him quiet space when life felt loud. Taylor's influence reminded Vince to protect his peace, to keep gentleness in his voice even when chaos filled his life. That emotional balance shaped Vince's ability to deliver tenderness in songs even during personal storms. Gene Watson represented something different: discipline. Vince admired Watson because perfection never left his voice. Watson proved that mastery requires daily focus. Vince would rehearse until his throat hurt, trying to match that level of control. This effort improved his tone, technique, and emotional delivery. Watson inspired him to become a technical musician, not just a passionate one. Vince credited Watson for pushing him to excellence instead of comfort. George Jones carried the heaviest emotional influence. When Vince lost people he loved, when life broke him in ways he couldn't describe, Jones's music felt like a friend sitting beside him in silence. Jones became the voice of grief, the one that made sorrow feel survivable. Vince said that when life pushed him to the edge of emotional collapse, Jones's voice held him together. That connection made Jones more than an influence. He became a spiritual guide in Vince's musical journey. These 7 singers reminded Vince Gill that music is not just a career. It is a companion through every stage of life. Vince shared these confessions at 68 because he understood the value of acknowledging those who shaped him. He knew that honoring influences keeps humility alive. He wanted fans to understand that greatness is never born alone. His confession was more than admiration. It was gratitude. It was closure. It was truth. He admitted that he kept these stories private for years because he didn't want to seem emotional or sentimental. Age changed that. He realized that honesty connects humans more than pride ever could. Vince saw these 7 singers as pieces of his soul. Each voice held a story. Each influence shaped a choice. Each admiration carried a memory. At 68, he finally felt ready to share them. His confession revealed not just his inspirations, but the emotional path behind every note he ever sang. The struggles, the doubts, the losses, the healing, and the love. These 7 singers were not just names. They were the foundation of Vince Gill's life. If you want, I can expand both chapters even further, polish your hook, or add a closing section for stronger audience retention.